Welcome back. Well, yes, we have Mr. Bolaji Ogunseye, who is a development economist. He joins us to also shed some light on the recent data released by MBS about the high rate of food prices, the highest, they say, since 2009. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Looking at that breakdown and how they came about it, but the reason they gave here is that this rise in food index was caused by increase in prices of bread, cereals, meat, fish, oil, and it goes on. But you've also seen some part of those. But I do remember that, but better still, before I come to this other part, which, yeah, we'll get to see that breakdown by the MBS, how they brought out inflation, yes, marginally low, but the food prices. Did you make sense out of why this is the case?
Well, I mean, look, there are two levels I always like to look at the economy from. I mean, the first one is the steady state, you know, the continuous day-to-day management of the economy, you know, inflation, you know, employment, fiscal and monetary, you know, management, the balance and all of that. But the second one, which affects this steady state, day-to-day thing, more fundamentally, is the one that actually gives the direction, you know, the secular direction over time, where the economy is going. Is this second one, which is dealing with what I keep insisting are the structural problems within the Nigerian economy. I listened to the last gentleman that talked, Dr. Omelafia. Honestly, it's rare to hear somebody who has such an elegant, brilliant, calmly delivered sense of the best ways to manage the steady state economy, the everyday, you know what I mean, to take it month to month towards better indexes, right? But he mentioned two things, and I'll talk about one, and that is part of the structural, the second level I'm talking about. He said, if you go to England, the US, you borrow money, the instruction from the central bank to the commercial banks, I just cite this example, will be very clear. If you loan so much money, this is what you take, total, net. But in Nigeria, I guess the central bank also has all these guidelines for them, or instruction, they should be very clear instruction. But it says then you have also hidden charges and things. If a former deputy governor of Central Bank, a very brilliant economic thinker like that, knows it, do you understand? It means every other person in policy position, in the central bank, in the fiscal authority, they also know this.
Hence the reason why we should address it.
So this is my problem. I'm just citing that to say there is within the structural problem matrix of Nigeria, there's almost a lack of capacity or a lack of will to solve problems. And I can cite so many examples. And if these problems just won't go away, if all we do is to wake up in the morning, kiss them and greet them, good morning problem, you're doing fine.
So interest rate is one of them?
Oh yes, interest rate is one of them. And look at this.
We have a high
interest
rate.
The central bank?
The interest rate, I might just remind you, is within the range of, depending on which bank you're dealing with, 27%.
Yeah.
If you have to go 27% and you are an SME that's into, say, egg production, and you are borrowing 1 million naira from the bank, government policies, does it allow you to pay back at that rate by the end of the tenure of your borrower?
Look, the point is this. You have talked about the cost of money, but you should also talk about the cost of actually doing the business. You see, we have an environment, an infrastructurally aggressive, unfriendly environment, okay? A skills and attitude to work unfriendly environment. Most of your staff just want to game you. They want to game the business and things. Now you have a lot of these soft problems, which when you add them up, they actually become a hard knock on your enterprise or your business, okay? And then when you put that side by side with the interest, you can see why 8 out of 10 SMEs and MSM, okay, why they fold up within their first 18 months. Do you understand? Again, that's what I'm saying. This government, like all the other governments in the past, is still faced with the challenge of how do you solve embedded problems, which have been there 30 years, 25 years, and we all know them. Why do they refuse to solve problems?
Let me cite this example. Let me cite this example because I think the Minister of Agri, it was in February actually because it's published, where he, after the FEC meeting, remember they had set up this interministerial committee to see how they could bring down the food prices. And so when they had submitted that interim report, he briefed journalists and said, yes, that had been done, but food items were generally moved across Nigeria with heavy trucks and that the price of diesel had gone up. Therefore, that led to an increase in prices. He went on to say that they decided to start moving or start using railway wagons to transport food items. Well, we've also checked and seen that recently now, the price of diesel has dropped.
Yeah.
So you'd have expected that, why will the food prices still remain high? So is it that when these prices drop, marketers or traders usually find it difficult to come down with reality and bring back food prices?
Again, that is part of, remember the other time I talked about Nigeria being held hostage, the economy, to what I call structural inflation. Do you understand? Secular, long-term structural inflation. If you look at the prices, the cost of fixed assets in this country, of certain categories of services, I mean, they are just a joke. They are ridiculous. If you consider the rates of price of shifts in salary, in income, in real income, it's so slow, which is not a bad thing, because it can help you with inflation, managing inflation. But if you look at the rates of turnaround, 100%, 100%, 100%, for a lot of critical services and fixed assets, you can't believe it. Look, my son